Welcome to the Oscars. The Zero Oscars.
And we're back. Welcome to episode 14 of the Zero Oscars podcast. It's the show where we review every product placement with Skittles in all media. I'm John.
I'm Kylan.
I'm Eli.
And
I'm John as well.
And you know him, you love him. We don't know when the multiple choice question was invented, but we do know when it was perfected. Dr. John McClellan, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. What an honor.
It truly is. It truly is. And of course, today is the day that we watched Mac and Me, and we're going to talk about it. But before we do that, we thought we would start off in the sphere of the normal, see how things are going. If you guys watched anything interesting, what's been going on?
I've watched a few things. So, have you all heard of an American pickle?
I've heard of those things individually.
It's Seth Rogen as a man from the old country in the 1920s or something, and he gets brined in pickle juice for 100 years and wakes up in 2020 and meets his great-great-grandson, who's also played by Seth Rogen.
Is this the Futurama remake?
I do not know. But it was okay. It sounds funnier than it was, I think. But there were some good parts. I also watched Yojimbo, the Kurosawa samurai film, which was then immediately ripped off and made into Fistful of Dollars, which I also love. But some scenes were taken directly from it. Some lines are basic copies, which, it was very good.
Is that was that an American remake or?
It was Italian. It was a spaghetti western.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But the original was Yojimbo, which was a really good samurai film.
Okay.
So, recommend.
Very cool.
John.
Oh,
Yeah.
What a twist. I'm doing pretty good. I have been pretty busy, so I haven't watched a ton of new things, but I did finish since last time Jiro Dreams of Sushi, which is a nice little documentary about the best sushi shop in the world and the best sushi maker in it. The second half really brings a lot of the threads together they were laying in the first half of the documentary, the one that I fell asleep to because I was too tired. It turns out the oldest son just felt like he couldn't live up, was living in his father's shadow, and he's just like, I'll never be good enough. But then at the end, they revealed that, hey, wait a minute, this shop has 3 Michelin stars, but the time that the Michelin stars people that went to this shop, the best sushi maker in the world didn't even cook for them. It was actually the oldest son. What a cool twist. So, but it was a really good documentary. I do recommend it. Currently streaming on Hulu. But apart from that, I haven't really seen much. Eli?
I watched The Last Temptation of Christ, not to be confused with The First Temptation of Christ, which is a different thing. It's by Martin Scorsese, and it's probably like a top 10 film. I'd recommend it. It's really good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's Willem Dafoe's Jesus. It's very funny. So when you go into it, you're like, Willem Dafoe is Jesus. But then he's really good. Judas has red hair and a New York accent, which I don't think is intentional. I think they just couldn't get the guy to not do his accent. Because everyone else is at least sort of attempting to remove their accents, but he's just full on. That's maybe the only one issue I have with the movie is that Judas is just New York.
I do have one question about this movie.
Yes.
Are we to understand that the Last Temptation of Christ is the last temptation by Christ, or the last temptation aimed at Christ? Is he tempting me or am I tempting him?
It's the last temptation aimed at Christ.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The other one would be a very different movie.
A very different movie, yes.
Dr. McClellan, what about you? What have you been watching?
Man, I feel boring compared to you guys. We just been binge watching The Office.
It's a strong show.
We started The Community, or Community, I guess it's called. But,
it's a great show.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. We're not loving it as much as others.
Well, that's some
As
good,
far as
some
movies, I
dissonance.
guess one of the most recent movies I watched, it's been a couple weeks. I rewatched Duel again.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if anyone actually watches this show, I highly recommend you check out Spielberg's first feature-length film called Duel.
Do you want to give like a blurb of like what Duel is for the uninitiated?
Yeah, that's easy to do, man. A guy gets chased for an hour and a half by a giant truck. And it is good. I think it I mean it's exciting. It's kind of nerve-wracking, but a lot of people think of it as kind of a goofy movie, but it's really not. If you watch it, it's pretty intense.
It is pretty intense. I remember many moons ago when I went to your house with a group of people, like you could back in the old days. We you made Duel out to be a threat. You threatened that we would have to watch Duel, which made it seem like it was going to be a very bad movie. But then we actually watched it, and it was a very good movie. So I also highly recommend. But you know, it's a good summation. So we've been seeing some good things. And on an unrelated note, things that are dubiously good. Let's move into Mac and Me.
Eric! Wait.
So it's time for everyone's favorite part of the show, time summaries. I think I can pull up the little timer here. This week, I believe I have the 20-second slot. Kylan, do you have the 15, correct?
Yeah.
All right,
Yes.
Excellent. I just have to make sure that my screen is properly set up. And all right, so I have 20 seconds to summarize all of Mac and Me. 3, 2, 1, just to count myself in, and go. Let's eat out. Let's look for the golden arteries. Go to the goodies at McDonald's, the closest thing to home. McDonald's is your kind of place. You deserve a break today. McDonald's sure is good to have around. We all do it for you. Nobody can do it like McDonald's can. Nobody can say goodnight like McDonald's can. McDonald's is your place to be. You deserve a break today. McDonald's today.
Incredible.
Beautiful. That
Accurate.
tells me everything about the movie.
I wanted to get to the heart of what the movie's
Yeah.
about, speak to a deeper message. And I hope I was able to accomplish that in my limited time. Anyways, Kylan, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Bunch of gross aliens on some planet get somehow caught in a drone thing, come back to Earth, they break out. One of them, the young one ends up terrorizing a family for a while until they go to McDonald's and terrorizes them. And then eventually they become American citizens.
It's a very good summation, I would say.
Mhm.
It really hits a lot of the notes. All right, Eli,
Mhm.
shall I count you in?
Please do.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
4 Ukrainian burn victims get lost in the desert and drink Coke for about an hour and a half before they engage in a shootout with American police, only to then become American citizens.
And with the coveted 5-second slot, Dr. McClellan, are you ready for me to count you in?
Let's give this a shot.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Creepy alien baby takes half hour to befriend boy, gets blasted by a supermarket, and resurrects from the dead.
I like it. All right. At this point, that really is the whole movie. Also, I do appreciate you guys, the two of you, when you really laid in the fact that they are American citizens.
Yeah.
Because gosh, it's such like a weird throwaway thing at the end, but it is like, gosh, what a thing.
What a beautiful scene.
But anyways, if we want to walk through the movie in a little bit more detail and sort of our chance to just jump in and make comments so that we thought of along the way, as Kylan started out and Eli started out in a sense. We start off on some distant, godforsaken planet where these creatures are just wandering around, nothing better to do. They're just poking rocks with straws and slurping. Anyways, they whistle and it causes a spacecraft to appear, or at least that's how I understood the causation. And they sort of sound like R2-D2s. They did you guys not have this impression of their whistling?
R2-D2.
I was thinking about it the whole time. I couldn't stop. But the probe comes up. They keep poking this probe, and then suddenly they just get sucked inside the probe somehow, and it just takes off and just flies back to Earth.
They showed like a decent amount of space on their planet, and there were no other aliens. It was just them. So I take it to mean they're the only ones of their species. There can't be others.
Do you think they slurped all the other members of the species to death?
It is the only logical explanation.
But apparently, their life form is such that they can be condensed into a very small space, right? So maybe their friends were just resting someplace we couldn't see.
They got condensed off screen.
But I was amazed at how they could survive on what looked like such a desolate planet, given how clumsy and wobbly and weak and pathetic they looked.
They're very incompetent.
Well,
Yeah,
they're
I
not.
don't know how they could survive in such a place.
Well, later, one of them bends a tire iron just with his bare hands, and yet somehow they can't do anything all the time.
It's they have all the strength, but they don't have like the will to live, as we sort of see throughout the movie, because their ultimate solution is really just to lay down places and hope that people come give them cans of Coca-Cola. But
And I thought that the baby, when it got sucked up, I thought that was it. The spaceship was going to take off, and that would have been a nice way to do the movie where the family's on the home planet, but then all of a sudden it got all three of the rest of them.
yeah. A clean hat trick. But
Then we cut to the scientist place.
yeah.
Laboratory is.
The probe has landed and they're like deconstructing the probe to check for samples and all this stuff. They're super excited. They're putting on their best suits and ties. They're watching through the two-way window. When all of a sudden, they just some panel, they start loosening it and it just explodes off. Smoke fills the room. What is that? They I don't remember the prompt now, but I wrote in my note that they think that the aliens are just going to speak English because they keep being like, don't come any closer or we'll shoot you. Which understandably the alien maybe didn't have a context for, because they seem they're not super concerned. They don't.
I don't
seem
know.
to
He
heed those
figured out that
warnings.
gun pretty quick at the end, but I guess
He
we'll get
did.
there.
Well, at one point, Max says yes or no. So
Wait, really?
I
missed that.
he just goes like this,
Oh.
shakes his head. So I assume he understands English, and he's the youngest one.
Well,
So
young kids learn languages the quickest.
yeah.
Yeah, that's just science.
What the movie
Yeah.
about.
That does sort of get at like a consistent nitpick that I have with this movie is that they are both too good at communicating and way too stupid. There's this whole thing of like just to jump ahead again, like Mac builds all these intricate straw. He puts like flowers in straws, and they're meant to. They understand that they're meant to signify wind turbines. So he's building replicas of wind turbines to explain that he wants to go to the wind turbines, but he's not smart enough to be able to figure out how to be specific. This is the thing I'm talking about. It's a weird Venn diagram where I don't know. It's a very narrow point that they've hit at.
I want to talk about I know it's maybe not important in the grand scheme of things, but I want to talk about the escape and chase scene that happens
Yes,
as soon as they get loose.
please do.
Because it's just immediate chaos in a way that I don't feel like is really feasible. Because for whatever reason, one of the scientists falls backwards off of a ledge that's about 4 inches off the ground, and he falls, and tables fall, machines explode as he falls.
Yes.
When they didn't really hit anything, but just like the entire probe sparks and
Well, they have
smoke goes up.
electrical powers.
So then somehow they get separated. I don't know. The Mac and the other ones get separated.
It's because they have this horrific part where he gets stretched out on the fence like an elastic. It's like a rubber band, and he gets stretched out and then just launched somewhere into the highway of oncoming traffic. What?
You can see the wires holding the puppet in the shot. Then he gets hit by a car where he smushes down flat on the window. The car's being driven by like discount Michael Keaton, and they drive.
They call him Max Stanley at that point.
And it causes the craziest pileup I've ever seen, where a car somehow launches into the air off of another car and just right into the roof of another car, which somehow results in no deaths.
It feels like kid-friendly, like Final Destination.
I love when these movies have unnecessary wrecks. It's just over the top, like the thing with Two Heads, where it has 17 cop cars wrecked. This one, I just wanted them to keep going, see how many cars they can destroy.
I kept hoping this one would turn into a horror film. I know John felt that with American Anthem. There were so many times where it's like they could just go a little farther.
I totally agree. I had that in my notes a lot of like this kid is trying to suss out if he's in Ghostbusters or if he's in like Paranormal Activity. Or maybe
Mhm.
But so they have the crazy pile up. They have all of that stuff. He ends up somehow in the van with our protagonists, which is a single mother and her 2 sons. As she says their names, as she says at one point, Michael, Eric, to which I thought Dyson. With a question
I thought
mark.
that too, but there was no sons dying in this.
Bye. I'll bring the dogs on the pod, please. But
what happens after that? There was another thing, again, another unimportant scene that really was a head scratcher for me, is when, so as we've established, the aliens like Coca-Cola for some reason.
Yes.
And
can't get enough of that stuff.
He's in the back seat drinking a Coke. And then Max steals the Coke without him seeing, which Eric then blames on his brother Michael, who's in the front seat.
Yes.
Who would have had to have reached around behind him and grabbed it and then somehow hidden it in the front seat somewhere. I had to pause and really just parse my way through that entire scene because it doesn't make any sense. But then again, Eric is not the smartest kid as we come.
He's not the brightest. It's not the brightest tool in the shed.
We find out that the family has just moved to Sacramento, I think is where they are. It doesn't matter.
Cali, yeah.
Yeah, they're in California. They've just moved because the mom has gotten a job and they got a new house and everything.
Mm-hmm.
They're originally from Illinois, which keeps being brought up for some reason.
Chicago, baby. It's
the Cubbies.
It's the product placement mentality, but for things that don't give you money. Like, although I would like it if like the city of Chicago actually paid for this, like the Board of Tourism. They're like, maybe people will see this movie and want to do the reverse Mac and Me trek from Sacramento to Illinois.
There's a lot of aliens in Sacramento. We got to get out of here.
A lot fewer.
So, I mean, what happens?
She walks him around the house for a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the house is also like semi-special built because Eric is in a wheelchair. So it's like, oh, we can look out the window.
Yeah.
Which she says he can look out all the windows, to which she rolls into the windows above, like he can technically look at it, but it is not what she meant. And it was like the very next scene.
You can see the sky from any direction.
Which I immediately took a picture of and sent to you all with the quote because it was ridiculous. But what happens next.
What happens? I don't know.
I think from there, I guess we could sort of just jump to like as soon as they get there, strange things start happening.
Yeah.
Especially electrical based things, like the RC car keeps driving without the battery, the TV keeps playing without being plugged in, all
Mac
that kind of stuff.
destroys a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Again, to bring up an inconsistency, I don't understand what the mom is thinking whenever she finds these things.
Yes.
So when Max spends all night, right, bringing in all this stuff into the room, like flowers, and like there's a stuffed horse or a deer or something in their living room.
Yep.
She
With a
assumes
MAGA
that
hat.
her son in a wheelchair has done that
Yes.
overnight, without any noise.
Well,
And she just goes on her life assuming that.
She thinks that her wheelchair bound son has taken a circular saw and cut a triangle out of the door. She thinks he's reached up and taken a painting off of the wall to drill to break the frame. She thinks he's drilled through the drywall. Like there's just a lot of practical questions.
Well,
But that
in her
ahead.
defense, he did have the circular saw in his hand.
Circumstantial evidence will get you every time. Well, I can understand that one more, but what really throws me is when Mac magically fixes all that stuff, because what did she think that this kid perfectly repaired the hole? Is like he either replaced the whole door or seamlessly patched this entire chunk that was taken all the way through the door. She thinks he redid all the drywall and hung this painting above his head. Like,
well, when she's like, "Oh, y'all did that. It's great." The brother's like, "You really think we did this, us?" And she's like, "Good point." And then doesn't question who would have done it. Then just moves on.
I'm still wondering how the baby alien fixed it.
I also would like to know. His powers are so inconsistent.
There was one scene in between Mac breaking and fixing them where Eric sees Mac, running out the backyard, so he follows him. And he goes on this hill, and he loses control of the wheelchair, tries to brake. It breaks off, and he just goes flying over a cliff and falls into some water. And it was beautifully shot.
And not a small cliff either. Like, it's the most dramatic drop-off from normal residential neighborhood to 30-foot, not waterfall, but just straight drop. That seems like a massive liability.
Yeah, why did she think that was the best place for a wheelchair son to live?
It's perfect. There's an incline he can't recover from that leads immediately into. Maybe this house was so special because it was the only house she could find in America that was perfectly suited for causing an accident for your wheelchair-bound son. She needed to dispose of him plausibly.
I did some Googling after I watched this masterpiece this afternoon. And I don't know if you guys knew, but turns out there was this recurring bit on the Conan show. That,
Yes.
You guys saw that with Paul Rudd, and he would show that scene as supposedly clip from his upcoming movies. Yeah.
Indeed. It's such a good bit because he's done it I think maybe 8 or 9 times or something like that. It's a very large number of times.
Oh. Is that how you guys found out about this movie?
That's how I first heard about it.
Yeah.
It just happened to be on this list because we didn't choose the movies. The movies chose us.
Okay.
But because we just were going through the list of all the 0%ers. But this is one of the few that I had heard about before, and I had seen that wheelchair scene. And I guess Eli, you and I at least watched the Mystery Science Theater 3000 version of this last year, which is very good too. It's a movie very well suited for riffing. No, not at all. Yeah, we really perfected it. That wheelchair scene is another good example of how does the mom think the kid is doing all of these things, because he falls in, but then I guess he falls into the deep end, but then comes back out and is on the shore with his wheelchair intact. So I guess the implication is that he fell to the bottom and then just on the sea floor rolled himself up to the shallow.
It just makes sense.
it's all beautifully accompanied and backdropped by the young neighbor girl just yelling from the top of the cliff, "Swim, Eric, swim!" just over and over again, which is incredible advice. Also, I wrote this in my notes. I wrote, from the mom's perspective, it looks like her son has just tried to end his life out of shame for cutting a hole in the front door.
Well, that's what I was confused. So the next scene after the wheelchair scene, we cut to him in bed and there's like a doctor checking on him.
Yes, yeah.
And everyone's like, I just don't know why he did this. And the doctor's like, are you okay? Is there anything you want to talk about? So I assume all the adults thought he did it on purpose.
I think that was the
accident.
implication. Yeah,
That's so weird.
it is so weird. Also, I like that the assessment that doctor did was he asked two very basic questions, and then he just turns to the mom and goes, "He's okay." Like, it's such a
He also
such a
gives
lay
them
assessment.
sedatives. Not writing a prescription.
As soon as the kid acknowledges that he's seeing a creature, he just says, "I gotta knock this kid right out. I gotta get rid of this while in my head." They call it the California method, I think.
Oh man.
Oh, then
There's so much that happens.
there's the whole birthday party thing. Oh wait, they catch Mac.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they do a little pseudo Ghostbusters event where they strap a vacuum cleaner to their back and then hide out. Wait, they lure him in with a pile of straws and the can of Coca-Cola, and like a moth to the flame, Mac comes.
Wait, we have totally skipped the line that jumped out to me the most in this movie when they are, I guess, when they were arriving at the house, the family at the new house. Did you catch what the older brother says?
Which part?
Have no fear. Your hormonal hero is
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
Oh, I did actually write that down. Yeah.
What in the world? What kind of superhero would that be?
Hormone man.
Very emotionally kind of up and down.
Yeah, truly. A lot of highs and lows. Yeah.
Everyone is hormone man. Within us all from the ages of 13 to death. So I don't know. So they catch him in the vacuum cleaner
Yep. Chaos ensues.
despite not knowing that they could suck him up through a vacuum.
No.
Because,
It's like they saw the beginning of the film.
and then they're like, oh God, we heard him. They have to like lay him flat.
They're like, let's get him a drink, get him a Coke.
an IV of Coke.
I want to see that. He's just wheeling around with one.
And it's like they sucked him up in there just to take him to another room and spit him back out.
Yeah.
I concluded it. I guess it did make sense that once the older brother was in the room, they wanted him out to prove that he was
Yeah.
real. Is that what happened?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I think maybe like the vacuum cleaner started smoking because they sort of bit off more than they could chew. Because he could just possess the vacuum cleaner and just fly around.
Oh,
So that seems like that was getting a little out of hand.
okay.
But it wasn't super clear.
And the brother's on board at least.
Yeah, that gets the brother on board. And then, like we talked about, that Mac fixes the house somehow. This is where we start to get the birthday party angle is introduced. Young Eric gets invited to a birthday party for a kid he doesn't know or care about, but whatever. He's got to make social connections somehow. He's networking. He's trying to get a good job, get into college. But E.T., Mac is really, really depressed at this point. He's made about 5 million what look like just weird straw flower abominations, but what we later find out are those replicas of wind turbines, and he's just sitting slumped in the lazy boy recliner. I wrote down that he sort of looks like Thor from Avengers Endgame, like he's really let himself go, and he doesn't have much of the will to live anymore. Which is a problem. So what do you do when you have your depressed alien friend who's like still has a hangover from his coke addiction.
You try and give him more coke.
You try to give him more coke, and you put him in a bear costume and call it a day. From there, they travel from Bear, I guess. They travel to McDonald's, where as like at most McDonald's that I go to, there's a group of people in the parking lot dancing like there's no tomorrow.
What is there to say about it?
I assumed that was like, some families will hire a magician to perform at their kids' birthday parties. I assumed the mama and dad of that kid had hired some sort of dance troupe.
It's their special interest clients.
Yeah. Then there ended up being like 50 of them, and I didn't think most parents could afford.
Yeah. It
If
makes
they
you wonder
could,
if it's there's a group rate or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
If,
But then
more
why would you
McDonald's-
have your party at McDonald's if you could afford all that?
Yeah.
If this took place at
there's no better
McDonald's
place.
more, I would go there a lot. If there were more just random dancing happening.
It makes you wonder if at the kid's birthday party the parents were all like leaning on the kids to pay their share. They're like, Clarence, you have to give us $350. We got to pay off these dancers somehow, or they won't leave. They're gonna form a ring around the McDonald's.
There's also three football players there for some reason.
Yeah.
In full uniform.
Freddie Mercury football player.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have to run down the line.
Yeah.
They have to tackle the kid 11 times for his 11th birthday. Ronald's in there. He's doing live performances. He's making commentaries, cutting up with the kids. He tells Eric at one point, "Nice bear, fun stuff." And then from there, the feds show up and a chase ensues.
A beautiful chase.
A beautiful chase.
A chase that begins with them trying to get through a bunch of dancing people in a McDonald's.
The greatest obstacle the federal government faced in years.
The crisis of
Resolute
our time.
dancers.
I don't know, man. My favorite chase was, I guess I'll call him Mac, driving that little toy car.
Yes.
That's true, yeah.
All the dogs.
chasing him.
And then he flips and ends up being in a tree.
Yeah.
The thing I love about that chase is that immediately after it, and it's like a comedy chase because he's being chased by dogs, they start this like serious song about like, I know I'm different, but we can still be together. And it's like,
That was hilarious.
doesn't match the tone of anything.
No.
Oh,
So yeah, they have that big chase scene, and they, Eric has Mac with him, and he gets pulled into the van by his brother and his neighbors. As I kept noticing, they kept playing music that sounded very similar to the Back to the Future theme. I think they just ripped off the Back to the Future theme.
There are a lot of musical rip-offs homage to other films.
Yeah,
did you say the Back to the Future theme?
that's exactly what it sounded very similar to me.
Let me tell you, the music was done by Alan Silvestri,
yeah.
who did
Oh,
the Back to the Future theme. So he ripped
That
it off
explains
from the
it.
source.
all right.
Good ear.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
kept noticing. I was like, that's Marty McFly, another Mac.
Doc and me.
I wish. So-
Yeah, they drive away, and
Also, his brother is strong to lift a moving wheelchair
Yeah.
while he's in a van. Like, that's not a good position to perform a lift.
That's actually the only workout he does. Is just
He practices that one move. And they say,
he's
well,
like,
will
this will
ever
come
be
in
used
handy.
for?
That's actually why their dad's not around. Is because he didn't make the.
His dad was also in a wheelchair and he couldn't lift him up. Slipped out of his grasp. The wheelchair was oiled, so it slipped out of his hands.
Hey, how do you think they shot that part right before that where the kid's in the wheelchair and he just grabs onto that truck that almost hits him?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not CGI.
No.
They just said, "Hey, actor, go out there in the street. We're gonna get this. Is gonna be a good shot."
I mean, I had to rewind and look again, and I mean, it just looks like either some very small stunt person or that little kid
Yeah.
just
It was-
grabbed the truck.
It was Kenny Baker. He was He had to make ends meet somehow. But this is interesting. This is the second movie in a row that has involved a child or children or young figures in a wheeled vehicle hitching the back of a ride of a car, sort of tailgating that way. Because we saw the skateboarding lads in Police Academy 4 do the same technique on the cop car.
I don't really know what happens after that.
They go and they find Mac's family, who appear to be dead, but they give them some coke and they come back to life.
They go into a cave, and it's Michael with Mac on his back. There's a shot that's a very like clear Luke Yoda ripoff that I do very much enjoy. Of just like them framed in the cave. It's very Empire Strikes Back avant-garde. But yeah, they go into the cave, and the whole family of Mac is just laying prone on the cave floor, just staring into space. They clearly haven't had coke in almost like 36 hours. Who can blame them for shutting down like that?
Right.
And they go to a gas station, and the aliens run amok, end up going into a grocery store, get a gun pulled on them by a security guy, take the gun, and for a brief moment outside when all the cops were pointing at him, I thought it was going to go the way of the original Red Dead Redemption game, where they just unload on these aliens.
It would be such an American solution to the problem is the movie does end with them firing multiple clips from AR-15s into these aliens.
I was rooting for that to happen. That would have made this one of my favorite movies ever, if that was how it ended.
Sadly.
How did the supermarket end up
exploding
ferociously?
This is such a great question. I also wondered this.
I've got no theory whatsoever.
Maybe it was a stray bullet, maybe. I don't know.
It hit a propane tank.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a gunfight ensues.
Yeah.
Our main man, Eric, goes, "Stop!" And he like rolls into the battle like Ash Ketchum in the Pokemon 2000 movie. What, John? So then there's the explosion, and he just gets wiped out by the explosion. Just I assume it cracked his neck or something. Because he doesn't really he's not in the explosion. He's just next to it.
No,
and he just slumps over.
It's nearby. Yeah, he goes prone.
The aliens somehow survive the fire, and they do weird things and bring him back to life. And it's like, okay.
Some little voodoo.
Yeah. I was really hoping if it would have ended with the aliens dying in a fire and the kid falling and dying.
Just unceremoniously just wiped out. And then just the golden arches come up and the credits roll.
They didn't stay
in place of the grocery store.
Yeah.
They left McDonald's. This is why this happened.
This never would have happened in a McDonald's. Incredibly flammable or flame retardant. But yeah, after that, it just smash cut. It's a judge or some authority figure, the power invested in him, is pronouncing a whole new group of people, American citizens. Pan over, who is it but our alien gang? They're all now wearing suits or earrings or what have you, and they are newly confirmed American citizens.
They drive away in a classic car.
Before they drive away, they all the kids have the most uncomfortable kisses ever, where they go and kiss all the aliens individually, especially the old man alien. Maybe I'm projecting my sensibilities about that in human context, but gosh, that felt really uncomfortable.
Well, that's the movie, and we have a minute left in the Zoom call.
It's true. So we're gonna end this call and rejoin with the same information, and then we'll do our trivia and our changes and all of that good stuff. So we will see you all in hopefully just about a minute. So, and we're back.
So I'm leading the trivia here today, everyone. There's plenty of information about this movie because it's famous. Dying again, thanks to the old Paul Rudd. But just a couple of quick facts before we get into the questions. The mom, I don't know if anyone noticed, the mom, Christine Ebersole, that's the mom on Richie Rich. Wow, what a fact.
Wow, what a fact.
I was going to say the Alan Silvestri thing, who did the music for Back to the Future and Forrest Gump, but Kylan already mentioned that, so way to go.
Yeah.
I would like to say they had a budget of $13 million and they made $6 million. Compare that to E.T.'s budget, which was $10 million, and it made $435 million. So,
it's so potato there.
very true.
435 million.
It's the money is the friends we made along the way.
I mean, they made $6 million. I've never done that.
I mean,
It's
I
so
guess
true.
so. You never had 13 million to turn into 6 million, though.
No, but I never made $6 million.
A Robin Hood move, yeah.
I have some interesting information from the director, Stuart Raffle, where basically he talks about he got hired out of the blue for this. Like they just contacted him and said, "We want you to direct this movie," and he said, "Okay, do I need to like start hiring like the crew?" And they said, "We already have the crew. The crew's ready to go right now." And he said, "Okay, I'll do it, sure." And the problem was the producer had hired the crew before the script was written, so they lost money paying the crew who was doing
Just sit
nothing.
around.
Yeah, the dude wrote the script like on the weekends in between shooting, so the script was not written all in one go. It was written basically as they went.
Incredible.
And they would just sort of figure out, although I would like to say the producer disputes that he hired the crew before that. So interesting conflict there.
It's just the idea of just like getting a cold call out of the blue to direct Mac and Me. What a red flag
Right.
that must have been. It reminds me of, so I've been sending out like a million like job applications and job feelers and all that stuff. I'm on different sites. And so I've noticed that immediately, like it's all of my information has ended up in a pool where people just contact me with just nonsense because I keep getting texts from Jen at whatever. And she's like, "Hi, it's about our manager, big money, make it home position. Come and interview in our office on Wednesday." And I'm like, "I didn't apply for this. I don't know who you are. Why do you keep contacting me, Jen? Leave me alone."
Truly a similar.
It's really perfectly analogous, but
Parallel,
he should have known better, you know?
I have some more information from the producer, the one who denied the crew member thing. So he denies that the film was financed by McDonald's, but he doesn't deny that the film was financed by Golden State Foods, who is a food service distributor that is closely tied with McDonald's. One could say it is McDonald's. So I would also say the $6 million, part of that went to the Ronald McDonald House. So at least some charity came out of this horrible mistake for a film.
Yeah.
And McDonald's did not want Ronald McDonald to be in the movie, but
He went rogue.
as director, what was his name? Stuart Raffle said, including Ronald McDonald was an artistic choice.
How different this movie would have been without those precious seconds that Ronald McDonald is there.
It really changed my understanding of the film.
We'll never know. Also, in production, when they went about creating the character of Mac, they said, "We want this character to be different than E.T." So they said, we gave him a family, which I might point out, E.T. has a family in E.T., and powers, which I would also point out that E.T. has powers in E.T. So what a difference that
It's just a regular flying bike.
Yeah.
This has a regular glowing finger.
That's not a power, that's an ability. So they're very different. Okay, I have the questions now. Oh, we lost them. But shall I wait or we just go for the questions?
I would say just go for it.
Okay. Oh, he's back.
Oh, wait, he's back. He's back.
Cool.
I was
So-
sneezing.
Oh, okay. You can't have video of that going out online. People wouldn't respect you.
All right. The first question. Mac and Me was the debut for one actor who appeared as a background extra. Who was the actor who debuted in Mac and Me? And they were in the background, so you probably didn't notice them. But just use some context clues and you might be able to figure this one out. Was it A, Liam Neeson, B, Jennifer Aniston, C, Brendan Fraser, D, Freddie Prinze Jr., or E, Halle Berry?
The answer to every question is Brendan Fraser.
Ooh, an interesting.
Every question.
You're not even going to think about the timeline?
No.
Okay.
It's always Brendan Fraser.
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson, interesting.
I'm going to go with my favorite multiple choice answer on my test, which is all and yet paradoxically none of the above.
Ooh. If only I'd included that as a potential answer, you would have gotten
Man,
it
I
correct.
always get a few students choose that. You wouldn't believe it, but it happens. I think this
I've
sounds
yet to perfect
philosophical. Let's put this.
The answer is Jennifer Aniston. She is
Wow.
one of the small children at the McDonald's dance-off that is just sort of awkwardly clapping her hands in the back.
I noticed the kid clapping her hands. I didn't know who it was.
It was the one and only Jennifer Aniston.
I noticed it was somebody who would become famous.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You picked up on it. You could smell it.
Yeah. But I thought that was Liam Neeson pretending to be Jennifer Aniston.
That's why he became such a good actor after.
Yeah.
He was born for it. Okay. Question 2. This sort of goes into what Kylan was talking about earlier with the shootout.
Not Brendan Fraser.
Yeah. So in the alternate ending for Mac and Me, yes, there is an alternate ending. It's really not that different, but they describe it as an alternate ending, so that's the terminology I'm using. An additional shot is added during the climactic shootout. What was added? Was it A, Eric is shot in the back by a police officer? Is it B, U.S. President Ronald Reagan is informed of the incident over the phone? Is it C, the shop owner yelling, "My shop"? Or is it D, a man yelling, "I want a refund on my Pepsi"? What was added?
I'm going to say the Pepsi thing.
Mm.
They were so pro-Coke, they had to take Pepsi down.
No. All news is good news. They wouldn't give him that lip service.
That's right.
Dr. McClellan, do you have a
B.
guess?
Are you
B.
going
B.
B? The president? Okay.
Yeah.
Eric is shot in the back of the head.
The answer is Eric is shot in the back.
No.
I heard this
It's on
before.
YouTube. It's on YouTube. So if anyone noticed, a cop tries to stop him, right? Tries to grab him as he
Yeah, he
rolls
goes-
into the shootout.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
cop in the additional scene misfires his gun and shoots him in the back through his wheelchair. And then the aliens save him after.
No.
Knowing the police, it wasn't a misfire.
Well, who fired that first shot anyways? It looked like a cop fell down and it was an accidental
It was very
discharge or
weird,
something?
yeah. I didn't
I
really
think
know
it was a
this
cop. I don't think it was the alien.
Yeah. So they were going, with the added scene, they were going to have two unintentional firings from the police,
one of which kills a small handicapped child.
and the other which somehow blows up the supermarket.
But yes, that version was released on the Japanese VHS version of the film
Incredible. I need
for some
that.
reason.
We have to find that version.
I need that copy.
I think it's uploaded on YouTube.
I need it on VHS.
Oh, okay. Okay. Question number 3. Producer RJ Lewis had previously worked on McDonald's advertising campaigns, but it wasn't financed by McDonald's, please. He once said that Ronald McDonald, this is quote, Ronald McDonald was even more well-known than blank. Who did he say Ronald McDonald was more well-known than? Was it A, Santa Claus, B, Jesus Christ, C, Paul Bunyan, or D, Elvis. Who did the producer of this film believe Ronald McDonald was more famous than? More well known, excuse me.
More infamous.
More infamous.
A.
You're going with Santa Claus?
Yeah.
Okay. Another Man in Red.
Hey,
You're also going with A?
Okay.
I'm going with Jesus Christ.
You're going with Jesus
I
Christ.
gotta stick with my homeboy.
amen, brother.
I wish he had said Jesus Christ.
No!
The answer is Santa Claus. I
No!
100% do not believe that Ronald McDonald is more well known than Santa Claus. There's no way. Question 4. This is a true false. Actor Jade Caligari, who plays Eric and was born with spina bifida, so actually handicapped in real life, performed part of the famous hill scene. True or false?
Oh,
Define
part?
Hmm.
This seems suitably ambiguous.
Exactly.
True.
Okay.
True. I mean, you rolled down for a bit. It looked
Mhm.
like.
It did look like it.
True.
You say true? Okay,
Yep.
yes. It is true. He performed everything except for the plummet, which was clearly a dummy.
Mhm.
He's basically, I had a quote from him in here somewhere. He said, oh, shoot, you shouldn't dwell on what you can't do, focus on what you can do, which is apparently plummet down a hill in a
Lose
wheelchair.
your brakes. I will say we did see close-ups of his face during that scene, so that sort of
Right.
lent credibility to me that he might have been in the scene.
Right, it was all green screen.
But wasn't the chair like swerving and almost tipped over?
So he did all that? That's awesome.
Wow.
He did it, yeah.
I hope it was like the director just physically pushing him down the hill.
He said, I'm not sure if I want to, and then they pushed him.
It's like that woman in The Shining where they were like just tormenting her.
Sad. Okay.
I want to be a director so I can have an excuse to bully children. Sorry, go on to the next question.
Full power. Okay.
Yeah.
Question 5. Mac and Me won the Golden Raspberry Award for Worst New Star in 1989. Which star was responsible? Are you familiar with the Golden Raspberry Awards? Talking about? Okay. So it's like the Oscars, but for bad movies, where they purposefully nominate the worst movies of the year and then give the award out.
Yeah.
It's been going since about the 82-ish,
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah.
So who's the worst? Was it A, Jade Caligari as Eric, B, Lauren Stanley as Debbie, which is the little neighbor girl,
Yeah.
C, Squire Friedel as Ronald McDonald as himself, or D, Jonathan Ward as Michael?
B.
Did you say D?
I said B.
B. Okay, so Debbie.
Who was Michael?
The
Michael's
brother.
the older
The older
brother.
brother.
Oh, yeah, that guy was annoying. I'm gonna go with him.
I am so torn. I think my most practical guess is probably Michael, but
Mhm.
my heart says that person is Ronald McDonald as himself. I'm going with that option.
You're going with Ronald
Pormono
McDonald?
hero.
Yeah.
Ronald McDonald was the worst new star of 1989.
Yes.
They gave it to him. I'm so proud of them for making that choice. The film also won Worst Director and was nominated for Worst Screenplay and Worst Actor, or Worst Picture.
Incredible.
It did not win those, however.
Did
That
good.
has been the trivia today for Mac and Me.
That was excellent trivia.
Well done.
Thank you.
There's much more. There's so much about this movie. Okay.
I don't believe you.
Did you know that the mom was in Richie Rich? I got you. Bet you didn't see that one coming, John.
I didn't. I already forgot about that trivia.
Wow, sad.
Yeah.
Sequel pitches.
Woo.
Segues are fun. So, John, do your little spiel that you always do.
Oh yeah. Okay. So imagine this: you're a young, struggling publicist. You're trying to make it big in the industry. You're down to your last rent payment. You know, your family's livelihood is on the line. But wait, your agency has just scored big. You've gotten. Oh, they call you on the phone. It's the middle of the night. They say, check your mailbox. They go, you're finally gonna make it. You open it up. You pour out the VHS copy. It's Mac and Me. You have to sell Mac and Me too, or your family doesn't eat. So what is your pitch to make Mac and Me a success?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you take the series, and how do you pitch it to those executives, those big wigs?
So I prepared one. So the movie starts out, and the name Mac has been outlawed in America. So the government's rounding up a bunch of Macs and putting them into a prison. This includes the Mac from Mac and Me. It includes Mac from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
No.
It includes Mac from It's Always Sunny. President William McKinley, Jeanette McCurdy, Matthew McConaughey, and Marty McFly. And
do they I'm sorry to interrupt your pitch. It is rude.
Yeah.
But do they round up the Macs by going into a crowd and like, Mac, and the people go, me?
that's the only logical way to do it. I think the census doesn't exist in this universe, right? So, adult Eric goes and he's going to help him because his friend Mac, and he's a good person. When all of a sudden they meet the big bad, the big villain. It's not a Mac. It's the exact opposite of a Mac. It's Max Rockstansky from Mad Max.
No.
It's called Max and Me.
Mad Max and Me.
Yes.
Or Max with CS. It can go either way.
Ooh, yeah.
It has a double meaning of a title.
This is a big brain.
Incredible. So it's like a post-apocalyptic thing? Like what?
No, it's dystopian future.
Okay.
Where Mad Max has taken over and outlawed all Max. So they all get rounded up. And Eric helps the Max fight back against Max.
They smack back.
Yeah,
on
the
Max.
Max
On
smack
Max.
back.
The Max smack back on Max. Incredible. I love that. It's a beautiful pitch. A clear vision, a cohesive story. I think it's gonna make you a lot of money.
Gosh, I hope so.
Okay. John.
Yes.
Do you have
No,
one?
please. I was gonna
Okay.
ask you if you had yours ready.
So the film picks up right where we left off, right? They're just going on, they're on the freeway, they're on the interstate driving. They go out for a nice picnic. I assume they're American citizens now. That's why the alien family is taking the two human children and going for a picnic. So they go, they lay down, they get a nice field, they lay down, it's a beautiful blanket. They get all the food out. I mean, it's just Coke, but they get all the food and drink out. And they're having a good time when Mac, the youngest alien, sort of wanders off into the woods. Normal things. And he comes across a graveyard, but he's an alien. He doesn't know what a graveyard is, obviously, because apparently they can't die if they have resurrection powers. So, he walks in. He's got his straw. He's still, he's a kid. He doesn't really know what's going on. So he sticks it into the ground and he starts sucking up, right? Unbeknownst to him, he's sucking up the organs of the dead, right? Just right into the ground. He kind of doesn't like it. He spits it out. He goes back. But on the trip ride home, he starts looking a little uneasier than normal. I know it's sort of hard to tell, which is why no one really picks up on it, because they're disgusting, burned.
They're weird,
monsters.
horrifying.
Yeah. They kind of already look like corpses. But just imagine he starts looking a little bit more like a corpse. The two younger human children are like, oh, that's weird, and the alien's like, okay, we'll take him back. We'll take him home. So they take him home, and in the middle of the night, he's in bed and he just rigidly sits up. He gets his straw, right, and he starts stumbling towards his parents who don't speak, and he kills them all with his little straw and he sucks them up. and it's called The Night of the Living Mac. It's a zombie thing. He got confused. He eats people. Maybe there's a tar man in there for fun. Whatever you need. I think it would really pick up on all the missed opportunities that the first film had for horror.
Bring back George Romero, make him direct it.
Right, yeah.
Incredible.
Thank you.
Dr. McClellan, do you have a pitch, or would you like me to go ahead to give you more time? What do you think?
I don't think more time's going to make it any better.
All right, I'm excited for it.
I'm obviously unprepared for this. That was beautiful, Eli.
Thank you.
I don't know. I had two ideas going through my head. One would be just run it back from the father alien's point of view.
It's a lot of just looking at the top of the cave.
Yeah, he's just such a mystery to me. You know, why does he seems to, you know, in some ways be the leader of the family, and he just takes them to a cave to just lay down and die. I don't know. I'd love to know more about that.
The thought process behind
it was again run it back, but run it back with just a different fast food chain. And I was thinking Chick-fil-A, and every time they give Mac Coke, or you could switch drinks too, but every time you give him Coke, you say "my pleasure."
I like it. I like it.
Incredible.
Beautiful.
The strong ideas all around. I think your ideas are on a very similar track to sort of my vision for Mac and Me too. But I think it starts off in a very similar fashion to the beginning of Mac and Me. We see humanoid aliens that are just different enough from the creatures in Mac and Me, and just different enough from E.T. That we won't get sued. And they're hanging out on some desolate planet. They're crawling around. They're looking for things. They're looking for food, or whatever their closest analogy is for that. They're not quite rocks, but they're almost like gusher packets, and they slice one open with their blade powers or whatever, and they suck out the green contents inside, and you're just like, well, this is kind of weird. And then maybe it's a probe, maybe it's something else, but somehow they get to Earth, and it's incredibly similar to Mac and Me, but much like Dr. McClellan said, it's just a different chain. This Mac cannot get enough of that verde sauce, and Taco Bell is his destination all the time. He just needs so much of that Baja Blast to reduce his cravings, you know. There's maybe gratuitous, maybe they have to say, you know, there's a lot of Liv Mossing to happen, but I think this really is just, I see it as the start of the E.T. fast food ripoff cinematic universe, in which it's a different alien family that has an obsession with a different line of fast food products. I think Mac and Me too. I think we're gonna call it Tex-Mex and Me, and I think we take it from there, and I think we crank out 100 of these babies. So that's where I see this franchise going, because it's really a universe. It's a world. Yeah.
What does Tex-Mex stand for?
I think it stands for trying everything extremely, meandering explanation xylophone. if I'm pretty sure that's what it stands for.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Glad I can answer your question.
Yeah. Well, I just was looking for the parallel naming scheme.
Mm-hmm. You can't find it, or
I don't believe that you had a name prepared before you said what you just said.
What do you mean?
Well, this is supposed to be your pitch to get your family food or whatever, and it kind of seems like you made it up on the spot.
I don't understand why you're accusing me of that.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Are you not going to greenlight my movie or Verde my movie?
I only out of care for your family.
Thanks.
And not a great disdain for every other family that will see it.
Very good, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of jumping off of that, are there any changes that you guys would make to Mac and Me if you had creative control to alter a significant element?
I would want to replace the main kid with Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd now?
Yes. Fully grown Paul Rudd, but everyone speaks to
In a child's wheelchair.
He's clearly using his feet to pull himself along.
I would like to replace the actor who played Ronald McDonald with Paul Rudd. You don't know it's him because of the makeup, but it's him. And he has a bigger role.
I would want more of the McDonald's characters from that era. I remember several of them, and that would have been wild.
Grimace.
Yep.
Yeah. I would like. I'm in two minds of two changes. One, they suck. Mac. They suck Mac into the vacuum cleaner, but when they spit him back out, it's Paul Rudd. Or but no one acknowledges it. Or alternatively, we do have the horror movie shift, and it's because we're so close.
Yeah,
we just really get a lot darker, and Mac will do what he has to do to get a can of Coke. If Eric gets in the way, then so be it. What happens. Not responsible for him. So that's the change I would make if I could.
A beautiful change.
Now, shall we move into the superlatives and offer our awards for what we think Mac and Me did better than any other film in cinematic history or human history?
Best use of sending a kid over a cliff.
That's a pretty strong superlative.
Yeah. There are probably other films with kids going over cliffs, Kylan.
Yeah.
Well, American Anthem really, they failed us on that. They could have won it, but they saved the kid.
That's so true. Yeah.
Would you count that for Bridge to Terabithia?
She didn't go over a cliff.
Yeah.
She fell into the river, broke her neck.
There's an incline.
Spoilers.
I think perhaps the best refrain from using a Reese's Pieces counterpart to reenact an exact scene from E.T. He had the Skittles.
He was ready.
Right. But they decided to go with the Coke crumb thing to attract them instead of the Skittles. So I appreciate that they really held back on that one because they were so close. The Skittles were right there, and they just didn't do it.
They had a lot of self-restraint in this movie. It was an artistic decision. I think I would say that it was the. Oh shoot! I lost my train of thought. Dr. McClellan, go, and I'll get back to it. I had it and then it just left.
I'm still hung up on that grocery store, so I'm going most inexplicable massive explosion.
That is another strong superlative.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. I would probably have to go, I think, best use of lifting a moving wheelchair into a moving van by a young boy, a young hormonal hero.
I do hope that happens again in the series.
Mm-hmm. I hope that's a through line.
I almost would be interested if we could go back through all of our superlatives and see if they happen to happen again in other films. That would be very difficult, but
I hope that will eventually be on the wiki.
Right.
That somebody else will make. I keep track of all of our superlatives.
One of our fans.
Yeah. So I guess the closing question: do you guys think this deserved a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes? In other words, that it received no positive critical reviews. Do you think that's apt? And what would you personally rate this out of 10?
I say it deserves a 0%. I'd rate it around a 3.5 or 4.
What?
I appreciate the marketing. I don't appreciate the artistic decision.
You include Ronald McDonald?
That's the only positive part of the film, along with the flying off the cliff.
It can't have a 0%. because of that scene, Kylan. I think I easily have to award it a 5 out of 10. And all 5 points are because of the cliff scene. It's so out of left field.
It's so beautiful.
It's so good.
Do you think it deserves a 0%, Eli?
No, I do not. Because it's funny.
It is funny. Dr. McClellan, would you like to weigh in?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, 0% is probably fair, but I kind of liked it. I thought the movie really looked good. I didn't realize it had such a high budget until you said that, but I thought it looked good, except for the aliens. I thought they looked really cheap and pathetic.
Yeah, horrifying.
The score was great, and I enjoyed the nostalgia for myself of the classic McDonald's vibes, the old uniforms, and the cups. I remember the design on the cups that they had. So it was fun for me. It was too long. It should have been an hour long. And so I'd say 3 out of 10.
That's fair. I am in of two minds. I think this probably does deserve a 0%, but gosh, I did have a lot of fun watching it.
It is fun.
Like I can see in terms of like a movie or a story, it's pretty bad, but it's also like there's a lot of things that we've seen that are a lot worse, and I had a lot of fun watching this in a way that I didn't have in a lot of the other things we've seen. So I would say it deserves a 0%, but I would probably give it like a 5.5 out of 10 for me personally.
Yes. The rest of you are cowards. It's so good. Not the most fun, but it's up there of all the things we've watched.
It is a lot of fun.
It is up there, the fun.
It's definitely my top 5. Would watch this again with a group.
Mm-hmm.
That we've seen out of the 14 we've seen.
We watched 14 movies.
We're doing good.
Oh, we've got like 60 more.
Really? That's what
62,
you
I
guys
think.
are doing?
Yeah, we're going through every 0% movie on Rotten Tomatoes that has a 0% critics rating.
So there's 75 then, basically?
76, I found another one.
Oh yeah, and a new one that including that new one that came out. 365 days on Netflix. Like that was the newest edition that came out this year.
I haven't added that to the.
So we'll have that. So they keep making them. So that's a problem too. They got to stop that.
You're doing this like once a week?
Yeah.
Okay, wow. That is a commitment.
It is a commitment indeed. We should make it through 2021.
Oh.
It's true. But gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Dr. McClellan, thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate you being a guest. It's been a lot of fun. Is there anything you would like to plug now that to all the big crowds that have made it this far, like a brand that you really want to pimp or something like that?
I don't know that I would associate my brand with this production, but take a philosophy class.
Yeah.
As wonderful as these gentlemen here.
It's so true. You can advertise your upcoming intro philosophy workbook.
Yes.
Become a #1 New York Times bestseller.
Yes, after this sabbatical semester, I'm going to have the world's only workbook devoted to one logical reasoning exercise. I'm doubling down on all of my thus far ineffective teaching strategies, all in one book to try to force them into the minds of my students before I give up.
That it's fittingly philosophical that if the data doesn't seem to align, we just need to force the kids to conform with our expectation. But I know we all wait with bated breath. Mm-hmm. But next week, right, Kylie, we'll be watching Police Academy 5. Is that correct?
Police Academy is back for another sequel.
Hopefully with our return Police Academy correspondent, Parker Anderson. Assuming all goes well. But yeah, I think that just about does it. Any closing thoughts, guys, before we send it off? All right. Well, we'll see you all next week.